Yep, we'll do it again, gentlemen. How you doing? Happy Friday again. Crusty old Crow back again. Doing another one of the Tactical Perspective toy reviews on G.I. Joe Classified. The series Hasbro put out that just has me hook, line, and sinker. As you can tell if you've explored my channels, I made well over 60 some odd videos about this subject from a whole bunch of angles. You guys know who I am, you know my background, and if you're new to the channel and you don't, just go watch any others. I recap it all the time. But it occurs to me today, reading some of the comments, I've never explained why I chose the name Crusty Old Crow. You'd think it has to do with being an aged guy and talking a lot, and supposedly being crusty about stuff, which I'm really not. No, that's not it at all. And some of you new to the channel and the younger guys with no military backgrounds or whatnot, you might not get why I'm fine with being called cock in the comments. And I'm going to explain that right now really quickly before I get into this video about number 106, Dreadnok Buzzer. And I've got a few things to say about this guy as well. Just like I did in my previous video today on General Hawk. Anyways, why am I finally being called cock in the comments? Because I chose Crusty Old Crow as a very purposeful name for a couple of reasons. One, cock stands for chain of command in the Army. So that's exactly kind of why I wanted the acronym there. So if people talk to me, they're talking to the chain of command. That's awesome. So most guys like that, Demagism and Skullfrog, I think they all get it. They all know it. That's why they call it. And I've got this selected as not for kids. So if you're a kid, you're going to hear the word cock a few times. But usually guys, I keep the language pretty tame. But there's a reason why I'm saying it this much. So when I was in Recce Squadron out west with the best bunch of guys I've ever met in my life and the best years of my life, Cark was tied to your morale. Cark was exactly what it sounded like. It was an invasive thing, but it was meant like as in high task rate, lots of missions, you're constantly going, the standard is high and you've got to meet it. Momentum. We always say, oh man, there's a lot of cock in this, like, oh my gosh, or how's the cock today? Oh, it's abundant, right? And we tie it to our morale, right? It's, by referring to it as that word, it unifies us to say we're all suffering the hardship together, right? It's the same as if, I remember we took this overseas a couple times, my Recce Squad guys, we had the suck knob, and we would always turn that thing up to 10 when the cock was harsh, right? And that was just our physical collective icon to represent that, our morale has to keep going up, guys. We have to keep going up through these hardships, and it's very important. And that's where cock ties in there. Where else does it tie in is actually, and it's about the crow or the ravens. So when I was in Wainwright, Alberta, I used to train soldiers and take them out to the field on either a basic course or a leadership course or a recce course. And we'd use the same pieces of training area a lot over the like 5 or 6 years that I was there doing that. And we'd pick pieces of ground to keep doing certain courses off of, as I'm sure you Americans do and things like that. So in this one patch of ground, there's these two big old ravens out there. Now, we all just up here, me and the guys in the Army, we just always say crows and ravens. It's just, why bother separating? They both do the same stuff pretty much. And they're both annoyingly intelligent animals. Anyways, this one patch of ground that we kept bringing these future leaders, PLQ candidates we call them, primary leadership qualification. We'd bring them to this one patch of ground and they'd set up their tent groups, and this was for the field phase of their training where they would run, recce operations, a defensive operation and stuff like that, so they could qualify for master corporals and above. So me being an instructor there, I knew well about these two crows that were always there, and we used to call them the RSMs, Regimental Sergeant Majors. They was the ghost of RSMs, and what they were looking for was insecure kit so they could cock the troops. Because that's exactly what they found, course after course. We would warn these guys. We'd be like, guys, if you're going to bring snacks to the field, put them in the bottom of the rucksack and bag that rucksack and never leave a rucksack undone. Never leave a bag undone. Don't leave food out. Don't leave anything shiny out. And every course, someone would. So I'd be sitting there listening to a group of guys giving orders, or like a guy giving order to his group of guys, getting ready to go out on patrol. And you would see these two crows fly into our site. And one would position himself in a tree and play lookout, and the other would position himself at the top of a tent group, my tent group sometimes. And he would start hopping down and going through kit. And I'd be listening to this guy giving orders and seeing this in the background and just smiling in my face because that means my section's about to learn a lesson. And sure enough, you'd hear the crows start going back to forth between each other. Cock, 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 right? So that's the origin of the crusty old crow story. That's why I don't mind being called cock in the comments. And that's why it's something I've been fine with because it was all very tied to my best years, guys. All right, so let's talk about Buzzer for a little bit. As you know, this is a tactical perspective, not my new Specfire stuff. So a tactical perspective, we deal with figure reviews here. And earlier today, I gave a confusingly glowing review of General Hawk, and I stand by the things I say, and you guys know that. But that doesn't mean there's not other perspectives and ideas and ways to look at these characters. And a lot of the time when it comes to the actual G.I. Joe lore that we learned through the cartoon or multiple comic books over multiple years, I am sometimes very deficient. My knowledge is tied to what I remember as a child and what I remember reading on the file cards and my imagination and the play with my friends. And I'm coming at you from this angle. So I tend to try and be realistic as I can, but I understand that Hasbro has made characters that do border into fictitious concepts at times. And I treat those with a different kind of lens than necessarily a tactical military lens. I treat those with the creativity lens and do I understand the concepts? So Buzzer, let's go through the box and the last card I kept saying, let's go through the file card. And then I wouldn't get to the file card. This video, we're going right to the file card. So what do we know about Dreadnok Buzzer? All right, so Dreadnok Buzzer we know is Dick Blinken, Richard Blinken Smythe of Cambridge, England. Buzzer was an extreme left-wing Cambridge sociology don who went to Australia to research the biker gang phenomenon, only to be transformed into the very object of his research. Years of intellectual displeasure and extreme indignation at society's two-faced morality manifested into the intense desire to chainsaw apart the expensive gigas of technological society. He has a specialty and modus operandi. He's a scavenger of the swamp. Buzzer can cut through steel, wrought iron, and any metal except armor plate. So get those tanks out of your head. With his diamond tooth chainsaw. Okay. So that's what we know about this guy, right? So when he came out in the 80s, let's talk about it, was really big in the 80s. And forward, right? So he came out, I think it was probably around 83, 82, but somewhere between 82 and 84, I believe. And big in the 80s, we still had the Mad Max movie phenomenon. And that was really where some of this was coming from, as well as a lot of biker gang influences. The world was, very much aware of the Hells Angels and all the mythology about biker gangs. And, they were always tied to some sort of criminal activity. And the folks at Hasbro and the genesis behind G.I. Joe saw that as an opportunity to come up with some pretty creative and off-the-wall characters that could come in and support Cobra with kind of their own thing going on, right? So when I look at a guy like Buzzer, I am immediately taken back to the chopper pilot from Mad Max, the little one-man helicopter who drops snakes on people. For some reason, I can't get that guy out of my head. And every other slasher film I've ever seen that comes out of the Australian movie network production of the last, especially the last 10 years, like Wrong Turn and all that. So looking at the box, what we got here is you got number 106 in the series, and you got that box art of him wielding that big old two-handed chainsaw, and he's smiling, and I'm going to come to this a little bit later. Wielding, going to get on the front, and then just a repeat of that, and you can see he's in front of a drum kit. And honestly, when you hear me talking about the kit later, if I forget to mention it, God, I wish he had come with a guitar. You know, like they're going to be promoting the band theme through it, the Dreadnoks. I guess they've got a band in there that's relevant to it all. So just throw us some instruments. You think it's too silly for us? Let us be the judge. Just throw us a guitar, especially when I talk about some of the stuff that's going on with this character later. So we've got that, and he is just known as Dreadnok Buzzer. There is no naming convention that includes his name, Dirk or Blayton or whatever it is. On the side, you got that a repeat of the same art, the QR code with the Cobra emblem. If you scan that at Hasbro.com, it'll unveil the secrets of the box to you. And then you've got those PCS primary combat functions where I'm from, legal gobbledygook down here and down here. And then we've got the back's digital render, those PCFs again. And everything we're getting in there. So we're getting Dreadnok Buzzer here at 6'2". All right, and we're getting a lot of close combat stuff here, guys. So this is where I'm coming from. We got a theme going we got to think about here, right? So he's got that two-handed big wieldy chainsaw, and he's got this baseball bat that he's incorporated a cut-in-half saw blade to and made that a good swinging axe out of it. And then he's got this, it's like a half of a nunchuck, and then the pitched, it's like a medieval mace kind of assembly there. Or perhaps even half medieval, half Orient. He's got his service pistol there with the wrapped up grip, and he's got his standard survival knife. This time they wanted to draw attention to his belt buckle, his Dreadnok belt buckle there, which is the Jolly Roger. He's a big fan of Johnny Depp and the Pirates of the Caribbean, clearly. And over here, this is the one I like the most, okay? He's got a knife, and he's got a cobra, and if you can see it, the knife is stabbing the cobra in the back. Ah, there you go. Can you trust a Dreadnok? Of course you cannot. You can't trust Zartan. Why would you trust his gang? Anyways, that's what you get with the box. As far as box art goes, you get that beautiful render of the same box art on the front for your shelves. If you collect those, stack those, display those, mail them to family members and drop hints, whatever, it's there. Okay, you get that. You get the standard ammo case, 106 in the line with the Cobra emblem. I wonder, you know, like when I got my my Zorana and my Zartan, I'm not 100% on Zorana. I'm not going to pull it out, but they had the Dreadnok logo on the background. So I'm kind of surprised we don't have a Dreadnok logo on Dreadnok Buzzer, because I know Zartan had the Dreadnok logo in the background. So it's, why for? No consistency. All right, so let's, I forgot to turn on his little stand light for today. All right, there we go. Let's talk a little bit about Dreadnok Buzzer. I want to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly today. So I'm going to do that in my standard format. I'm going to give you the head-to-toe inspection via military style with the perspective of this is not a military figure, and I'm not going to treat it like one. And then I'm going to give you my playability grade on this figure, and I'm going to give you my tactical grade on this figure. But unfortunately, everybody, before I do all that, and by the way, I take no pleasure in joining this bandwagon, but I am going to spend a little bit of time talking about quality control issues with this figure and warn you guys to brace. All right, just brace. You know, get your knees steady, prepare to put your head between them. Okay, so we'll do that, and I'll pan the camera around, and we'll talk about his kit and everything like that, and eventually I'll get that play grade, tech grade. But as far as the quality control issue, I'm going to put this guy back because he's done. Before we do all that stuff, I'm just going to grab ye old camera, you guys, and if anyone's feeling nauseous with my camera work, well, I'm just glad you're here anyways. I'm just going to show you that I had to clean up my mess, and clearly Joe's parade took a lot longer than anyone thought, and Cobra has claimed the Joe fob for the time being while I move stuff around downstairs. It's overwhelming how quickly at a figure a week to 2 figures a week you can run out of space for displaying figures if you weren't prepared. Guys, I wasn't a big action figure collector before this, and I don't think I'm going to be one after the outside of this series. There's just no space in my life for this much stuff. So anyways, let's talk about Buzzer. It's why you're here. It's why I'm here. Okay, quality control issue right away, guys. I had to get the hot water out pretty hard here. Boil a kettle and get ready, because when I got here, the only The only thing I saw was warp, warp, warp. Let's do the time warp again. This chain blade was the one thing I was thinking, if anything was warping, I wouldn't care if it was that. It's meant to look limp and rickety and at different angles, and it would have been fine if that what was warped. But the first things I noticed were warped was my chainsaw. That thing had almost a 90 degree, well, I'd say at least a 45-degree bend in it. It was brutalized. They didn't wrap these in cardboard when they packed them like they were doing for a while there. They left this out, and you can see that the rubber is a very bendy rubber. And so hot boiling water, put it in form, boiling water 10 seconds, put it in form, hold for 10 seconds under cold water, and it fixes all. Sorry, I shouldn't say it fixes all. One of the issues is it doesn't. Okay, so there, you got a really good look at this chainsaw. Let's call that a day on the chainsaw until I go talking about the tactical considerations of it. And then there's the baseball bat I was talking about with that saw blade, and you see how it catches the light. One thing I was kind of hoping they would do is, put some rust and discoloration on the steel of the Dreadnok stuff. I don't feel like these guys spend a lot of time polishing stuff. I really don't. I feel like they're the kind of guys that if it rusts out, that's fine. They'll just build another one. I would have preferred that, but that's, Hasbro, you're still doing it right, guys. I just would like to convert that. I think that's what I'll do, is convert it. Same as this bat. They went with a black bat. I think they would have been more on the mark if they had made this a wooden bat. We would have known better, and maybe colored in that cloth as a fabric and not as metal like the blades. Little things like this get picked up with the naked eye quickly, and it begins to discourage you as to what you're going to find as you keep going. Really, I wasn't overall dissatisfied. Both these pieces work, both these pieces fix. I think they're really cool little close combat pieces for the character Buzzer, and I like it, but I'll get into what I'm not digging about them later. So long as I'm doing those, there's that handle and blade chain set, and we'll quickly pull out his knife before the head to toe, and the knife, and we'll say the pistol before we get it. Oh, sorry guys, I'm just trying to get a hand free here. Watch that. There you go. You guys are between, just like driving a car when you're trying to light a smoke or take a sip of your coffee. All right, and you saw how quickly those glasses fell down. Let's make them the last part that you're going to hear me openly whine about, okay? For lack of a better term. All right, so I've got these little parts here for you, and we'll have a little look at them. So you got the pistol and you got the knife. All right, since your typical survival knife, it's same color paint as everything else they're using metal right now. And then you got that green cloth wrapped around, just a simple, what is that, a SIG or a Glock or whatever. Not really relevant, I don't think. All right, the glasses, guys. These have been, I know that there's been discussion about the glasses. I remember when we were just seeing digital renders of Buzzer, and sorry, he's got some schmutz on his face. I remember we saw the digital renders of Buzzer and Ripper, and then it came out that the glasses were a separate piece, and that was something Hasbro was trying to be proud of. Or it sounded like they were promoting in a positive sense, and now I think maybe that was a warning they were trying to warn us about. These glasses had such a warp in them that there was no hope of fitting them, and even after a hot water application with 2 hands and 4 fingers pressing down to try and mold them to the head, it was a real effort. And I don't know if you noticed, but they almost converge frog-like over his nose. So I just don't think my Buzzer's going to be wearing his glasses, which is so untraditionally Buzzer, until I find a suitable replacement. I know some people wish he had Slaughter's aviator style glasses with the old 80s glare protection on the sides, the old leather pockets that would be on the side of those things. I kind of wish they had them too. But whether this was preventable or not, it's really just a gamble they're going to keep taking with glasses. You're using a lot of thin rubber, and if you're playing with your plastic, and if you're playing with your plastic compositions and densities, yeah, warping is going to be kind of the end of a piece sometimes. So let me know if you guys get a Buzzer and your glasses are as bad as mine. I'll show you where I blame it. Okay, it's not the glasses' fault. The glasses are the gamble, and you can do things to make sure your gamble pays off. Don't believe me? Let's have a look at Roadblock. up there, they took matters in their own hands to make sure those glasses stood on. Sergeant Slaughter, hell, those are the left arm of these are broken, but with that hat, these stay on. You know, there are ways to get these glasses to stay on. This none of them were incorporated into Buzzer's head design. I'll show you where I would have started, and it's interesting because you can see the mold line here, right in the center of the hair, and I feel like that's an oversight on quality control as well. Yeah, you see it on a few figures, but on a blonde figure where all his hair is moving one way because of the ponytail, it really shows up that mold line, if you guys can see that. Okay, but the glasses, you can see they tried to do a little side ridge in his hair right here so that the glasses would hopefully press into that. So I mean, like, they identified kind of what they were supposed to do to make glasses fit on a head as a separate piece. You can definitely make it that they tried to do the ridges. But where it failed is those ears are just too tiny and too rounded downward. Like, they're very tiny, demure ears. And there's not enough ridge for them to actually properly hold a set of glasses over top of them, right? The bridge of his nose is no issue. But that's what I noticed about the glasses. And I think maybe a stronger ridge line on any future version of a glassed guy, it needs to be considered. I'm gonna ask, what do you guys think this facial expression is? Like, earlier I showed you how he was smiling, and they really did a phenomenal job kind of painting the teeth, but at the same time, it's not a smile. It almost seems like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a smile. I'm gonna tell you what I think this is. I think that's the face you make when you're doing a long drive in a car with someone, and it's like your best buddy or something, and you just turn and give them those fade eyes. You cut the worst roadside burrito ration fart you've ever caught. Just give them the hateful hate eye and fart, and just hold that jaw just like that the whole time. But I don't know if I'm a big fan of it. When I get up close with the camera, I can make out the detail a bit, but when I see it with my own two eyes outside the lens, those teeth almost look too separated, which I think is almost brilliant, but brilliantly bad, because I don't know if it's portraying an underbite, an overbite, a bad smile, poor dentistry, or what, but it really draws your attention to his teeth, and I can't figure out the expression. Maybe he's asking, what the actual fuck is going on? But I can't tell. Like, I just can't place that facial expression. Head articulation is going to be affected a little bit by the ponytail, but not a whole lot. He's got a pretty good head movement going for him. He's got that trademark brown Commandeer's sheriff's shirt that he's ripped up, and he's left the sheriff's badge on there, and he's got a couple of Joe tags hanging out there. You would doubt his manhood without that chest hair, I think, just as it appears on his arm. They're big onto that, and I think Hasbro said with Mutt you're getting even more. They're paying attention. I think that's a quick stencil they're using for arm hair that they're pretty pleased with, and they're throwing that into a lot of guys. You got yourself a smoke grenade and a frag grenade right there, and then those are on his Irish green suspender one strap. Or yeah. He's got that heavy metal cod piece, and over top of that you can see that belt buckle that we looked at on the box. He is supposed to look like wearing jeans, but they're reusing a sculpt here that has very not jean-like seams in there, but I think we're supposed to buy that these are jeans for sure. But there's another quality issue with mine, and I talked about this with my Firefly. My guy's got a bit of a no, sorry, I'm not going to make any jokes about debilities. I don't do that. But it's just he's got a lot of shakiness to him, even just slight, right? And that's all coming from that torso where it joins out the abdomen line. That's all wiggle there. And it flows, and yeah, he's gonna fall down. That's gonna happen. Moving down the knee pads, the biker knee pads, I don't mind, but man, I wish I had some sort of promise from them that they're gonna give these guys motorcycles for the Morlocks, maybe like a customizable motorcycle with a lot of options, so you can buy the same kit a couple of different times for your Dreadnoks. Sorry, not Morlocks. That's an X-Men thing. Dreadnoks and bikes, because you see them alluded to at the gas station there. And I think that really fits, especially if we get the Thunder Machine. You know, that'll hold some of them, but then having some guys rolling escort on a couple of Harleys that have been customized would be good. Anyways, so those are the pants. I do like the boots for him. They're really cool. You got those knee joints. They're not hidden pins. Another reason why you think it's a remold. And then we've seen these pouches for the knife and the holster, I think, before in other characters. I'm not a big fan. They're really gaudy. They almost look too military for a guy who looks like a biker. They almost look too governmental. And I'm not a big fan of that per se. On the back, no backpack with this guy. You got that studded belt going down that belt line, and then you start seeing some jean details in the back pockets. But then again, you got that weird line of stitching, and I'm gonna highlight where it is in case you guys are having, right? Jeans don't stitch part way down and then come inward and form these side pouches. This is clearly a remolded set of legs slapped made look like jeans, and I'm kind of not buying it, and I'm not overly a fan of it. I think that was something that they thought we wouldn't care too much about, but we're excited. We're getting Dreadnoks and we wanted new molds, and jeans aren't that hard to make. Yeah, you're making jump pants for paratroopers like Ripcord Night Force. Surely a pair of jeans would serve you well. That's pretty much all I wanted to show you with all of those things in his kit, guys, and the kit issues I had. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not buying the hype on this one. I'm not a big fan of this figure. Partially don't care about the quality control issues that I could fix like these. I do care about the quality control issues that fixing can risk even further damaging it, like these glasses. And overall, I mean, for a biker based Dreadnok kind of character, without his glasses, I feel he's just not Buzzer. So now I'm really pressed hard to try and fix that issue. But as a character outside of the glasses, I'm not unhappy with the sculpt. I just kind of don't really get what they were going for with the facial expression at all. I do feel like the pants were a cop-out. And I don't feel like those are good holsters for it. But overall, the rest of it I could live with. But I'm a little disappointed in the figure. I am, guys. All the hype behind getting these guys in, I found the problems almost overshadowed it this time. And I don't feel good telling you guys that. I know a lot of you guys really wanted to get the Dreadnoks done right, and maybe you guys can accept some of this, and maybe you guys won't have any quality control. I really hope you don't. I hope your buzzers satisfy you far more than mine did for me. I know that I'm still waiting on Ripper. I have my pre-order for Ripper. He should be coming any week now or any day, and I'm already pretty sure I'm going to really like the Ripper compared to this. I think I'm hoping Ripper doesn't have the same quality control issues, but I'm hoping Ripper validates the commitment I'm making towards the Dreadnoks, because I really want to like them. I wasn't a huge fan of them as a kid, but I really want to like them in this classified line, and I'm really good about being fair and giving things the benefit of the doubt and understanding, you know, building a successful line is a process. But I've had 4 issues with notable, or 4 figures now with notable quality control issues, and some of them I can solve. But the shaky torso one, I really can't. Like, when I did him, I took an extra, like, what, 15 seconds, and I solved my whole helix issue with her knee joint that had come and put her knee at a bad angle. And that was no problems. Most of the quality control issues, there's a solution for, but with Nunchuck in his foot, and now shaky buzzer, and I've had a couple others that I haven't been too happy with. Like, I don't know if I talked about it, my low light, he's got a seized hinge on his knee, can't bend. That's why you don't see me posing him in a lot of ways. But these are concerning as a collector, but it's not enough to ever take my passion out of this thing at all, guys. I am all in till I get tired of this line and they get into the more sillier stuff like mutated warriors and squirting water on everything. And that's probably when I'll stop. But until then, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. Just really quickly, you guys who watched the General Hawk video, I did talk about his box and Easter eggs, and I wasn't really picking up on any Easter eggs on Buzzer's video or Buzzer's box that I really care about. But I did pick up on one particular Easter egg on Hawks, and I talked about it earlier about this guy jumping up, and I was talking about how I think that's Flash, and I think that's Flash or the Grand Slam. I have a retraction. What if that's Wild Weasel on a new variant of the Claw Flyer, because they're not going to get to the Rattler anytime soon, because I'm looking at his flight trajectory, and he's, I think, the reason this explosion has happened. I don't think that's Joe. I think that's Cobra, and I think that might be Wild Weasel. Maybe they're making Wild Weasels into a troop build flyer generic kind of role, and that's what we're going to see until, you know, way down the line when they get to the Rattler. Who knows? But Wild Weasel is that could work, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought I saw a video, somebody was talking about a Wild Weasel design that's at Hasbro's desk, or maybe there's pics, I'll have to look, but possibly Wild Weasel there. All right, guys, that's it for me. That's your Buzzer tactical perspective on him. If you like that video, you know, you go to hit like. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you are enjoying this series and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Guys, I'm almost at 100. I'm really happy about that. That's my only real objective here. Hopefully it comes soon, but I'm going to keep making videos regardless as if it goes down to 0. So thank you all for keeping me company on this and for taking an interest in the shit I got to say about this stuff, and let me know you enjoy it. And if you have any suggestions on the Spec Firefights, my other series that I do for here, that you want to see and I'm able to put them together, you know I will. And until the next time, guys, knowing's half the battle, and now you know some shit. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.